um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Try to understand what that means.
Actually, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a benefit to to being both.
So thank you so much, ladies, for joining me. I'm really, really honored and proud to have this conversation with you. And so when I thought about having a conversation with, obviously, ladies who have gone through this journey of leadership, I obviously thought about the three of you. And our journeys are almost similar. And what is bringing us together is the Angaza Awards. So before we talk about that, maybe we'll start with introduction. So we'll start with Gaki. Gaki, if you can introduce yourself, what you do, then we'll go to Jerry, then Rina will be the last one. So just introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, tell us what you're proud about. Are you proud to be a mom? Are you proud to be anything in the community? You can talk about that. So just feel free to mention anything that you're revered as Gaki, as Jerry, as Rina. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you ladies. So my name is Gaki Mwongera. I am a banker. I work at Equity Bank, and my role involves digitizing programs or working with on digitization programs to support our business customers. And yes, that's about it, work related. I'm definitely proud to be a daughter, a sister, and a friend.
Thank you. Thank you, Gaki. Jerry?
Afternoon, ladies. Once again, my name is Jerry Jomo. Work-wise, I am in insurance and investments. I work for Britam as the general manager in charge of the retail customer segment. So I'm responsible for driving the revenue and profitability of the retail product portfolio, as well as the distribution channels for the business. Other than that, I'm absolutely proud of being a mother. I'm a mother of 3 beautiful daughters. So this space of women and empowerment is big for me because I keep saying it's one thing to tell them, it's another thing to show it and demonstrate and lead by example. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, Jerry. And maybe let me ask before we go to Rina, Jomo, where does the name come from? Because obviously our founding president had that name. So where does it come from? Is it a family name? Where does it come from? If you don't mind sharing.
Well, that's my husband's name. So
Okay.
that's it. Yeah, that's it for us. Yeah.
It's very unique. It's very unique. And thanks for being here. All right, Rina, you can go ahead.
All right. Good evening, Rahel. It was really nice to have you ask us to come and do this, I guess, have this conversation together. I am honored to be amongst women who are trailblazing in their industry. So I'm really honored to be here. I'm in the financial services sector. I work for FIDA Investment Bank, where I head the corporate finance division. I'm a director there and also a shareholder of the business. And we are basically involved in helping individuals and organizations find good investment opportunities. And we also help companies raise capital and structure instruments for them to be able to then raise capital. We also do mergers and acquisitions, rights issues, cross listings, that sort of thing. I also am very, very passionate about helping people understand how to invest, and basically financial literacy is something that my heart beats for. And so, you know, because of that, I do run a platform and another business that occupies about 30% of my time called RH Group, which has 2 brands, MoneyWise, that you probably know of, and another one called Investable, in partnership with Africa's Pocket. I'm a mother of 3 as well, just like Jerry. I have 3 kids, 2 girls and 1 boy. Also married, and yeah, I guess trying to do everything all at once during this short life that we have.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And thanks for being here. And you also have a very unique name. Gaki, I'm not saying your name is not unique. I'm just saying for Rina and Jerry, it's different. You don't hear these names quite often. Rina, where did you get your name? Is it your parents? Did they travel somewhere and found the word Rina? What the name Rina? What was it? Did they ever tell you the story?
Yes, yeah, so it's nothing fancy. When I was little, I didn't eat my food. And so in Kikuyu, when you try to tell somebody to finish, you say Nina, Nina. And so my parents thought to call me Nina. Then they thought if they just change the end to an R, it will rhyme with my surname, which was Karina. So I was for a long time Rina Karina. And then I met my dear husband, who's such an amazing man, whose name is Alan Hicks.
Yeah.
And he said the condition for us getting married is that I change my name. So that's how I am now Rina Hicks.
Oh, nice. Your husband saw something. So thank you to your husband for allowing you to change your name, because it's really unique. So thank you, ladies, again for being here. And I mean, we're doing all these amazing things. So maybe before we go to the conversation, maybe we can share what we do in our downtime. What does Rina do? What does Jerry do? What do you do to have fun, to unwind? Gaki, what do you do? So we can start with Jerry. What do you do for your downtime? What do you enjoy doing when you want to unwind?
What do I do? Surprisingly, I sing. I am a member of the worship team at Nairobi Chapel, Ngong Road. And what I love about being in the worship team is I have no titles there, just Jerry. So it's this really a great spot for me to just go in and enjoy, when we belt out. Please note, I said when we belt out those, really good, that great music. I also like, from time to time, we mix quality time with walks at Karura. I find that when we walk, we clearly have a lot of things to talk about with my husband, because we can easily do 10 kilometers. I'm not sure what we're normally saying, because at the end of it, if you ask me, what did you talk about? A lot of things. So those are the two things I do quite frequently when I want to unwind. I take walks, and then you'll find me in church, Nairobi Chapel.
Nice. So what voice are you? Alto, tenor, soprano?
I keep saying we're the real definition of what men can do. We can do better, because I sing tenor, strangely enough, and I also sing alto. Yeah, and I sing those two voices because they are safe. You're not taking any risks with alto or tenor. It's low octave, nothing too dramatic. Yeah, but I sing alto and tenor.
Yeah, that's nice. So did it start in the shower? Like, were you singing in the shower, then someone told you, but then you can actually sing, and then you decided to join the worship team? Or is it something that has been there while you were growing up and your parents saw it, or people around you saw it, and then it became something quite big?
I grew up in a musical family.
Okay.
So I was probably singing in a church setup from probably about 3, 4, 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My two sisters and I were voices, so we would do, and one sister would be the sop, and then my younger sister would be a soprano one. Mm-hmm. My dad is a very good bass, very musical. So that's where it all came from. So it's just something I naturally can move to do, and when I'm trying not to expend too much energy.
So it runs in the family. We can comfortably say it runs in the family, yeah?
Yes, I probably think it does.
That's nice. That's really interesting. I wish we had something that ran in the family. Such a gift. I'm not saying we don't have gifts in the family, but I mean, singing is quite interesting. And obviously, I know your family, and I know what you're talking about. Cool. So, and Gaki, what do you do in your downtime? What do you enjoy doing? How do you unwind? Yeah.
So I love to read books.
Okay.
I read a lot whenever I have time to myself. Mm-hmm. I also enjoy a good walk. So walking is something that helps me detoxify and clear up my mind. And so I don't run, but walking is something that I love to do often. Mm-hmm. besides that, I listen to audio stuff. So I'd relate that mainly to the reading bit. So if I don't have so much time to read, then I'll listen to something, you know, an audiobook, a podcast, something that's that will still bring that clarity when I'm out there walking.
Yeah.
And I love my sleep. So
Oh.
that's one thing I'm never talk about. Oh, I love my sleep. If I
Nice.
don't clock 8 hours, that life is not, the next day is going to be a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you've shared with me how busy you are. So what time do you sleep and what time do you wake up? If you don't mind sharing.
8 to 4.
Oh, 8 to 4. 8 p.m.
8,
Wow.
yes, I sleep early, 8 to 4, but well, I don't have to stick to that routine. So I'm not very strict with
like it's 8
the
p.m.
8, but I am 4.
Okay.
So yes, I sleep early and try to clean up my calendars and everything else. So I don't like having so many commitments in the evenings. At least so that I have time to myself.
Yeah, that's so cool. So are you the guys I normally see walking to work in the morning and then in the evening walking down to town from Upper Hill? Because I believe Equity is around Upper Hill area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you the guys that I normally see walking, or you walk in your own free time in Karura like Jerry?
I walk during my free time. So I'll mainly walk between 6:30 and 7:30.
Okay.
Or early in the mornings. Sometimes I take lunch hour walks if I'm in the office. So after lunch, I'll decide, you know what, let me do a lap walk. It's just a brisk walk, nothing heavy on myself.
Yeah. So you have your heels and then your flats. You normally carry both, I'm sure.
I'm not a heels person. So, well, of course, I'll put on my heels when I'm going for a meeting and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not too much into, very high heels. I dress for comfort.
Okay.
And
that's important. Yeah.
yes.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. Rina, you can tell us about how you unwind. I know you have a lot going on, but maybe you can share with us how you unwind. If it's with your family, your husband, how do you unwind?
So I generally like to exercise. So I don't know whether I don't enjoy the actual exercise, but I love the feeling after. So I generally exercise. I try and do it at least 4 to 5 times a week, mostly 4. I run. I enjoy running.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Gaki and I'm like, by the way, we might be twins. I love to read and also listen to audiobooks. The only thing I'm struggling with, Gaki, that I need your help with is this sleeping. In fact, my most recent read was Sleep Smarter. So just I need to clock in those 8 hours. Just need to figure out how. But that's what I love to do.
Yeah. So what's the longest mile you've done so far in terms of running?
The longest I've done is 16 kilometers.
Wow. When I grow up, I want to be like you. Like I think for me, the longest is half of that, 8 kilometers, because I also love running.
Okay.
Yeah. So I hope when I grow up, I want to be like you. Like you just run without stopping. Is it like you run and stop, jog, or you just go the full mile?
Just keep a pace and go with it through. But my sweet spot, like what I really enjoy so that I'm not suffering, is just 10 kilometers. Like even when if it's at Kadira, the 10K, I'm content with, and I feel like I've done something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I grow up, I really want to be like you, because I cannot even 10 kilometers. Oh my gosh, I really push myself, but I'll get there very soon.
Ryan, I feel you. I need them to impart this gift of running. I'd benefit from it as well.
Yeah. But Jerry, you have some exercises that you do. Do you exercise? What kind of exercises do you do?
As I said, I think what feels effortless is walking. I have and I do walk 16 kilometers. The longest I've walked is 20 kilometers, so I can walk.
Wow.
I think I'd really just like to learn how to run.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how, when Rina says keep a steady pace that you're comfortable with. I'm not quite sure I understand what that means. Um, and then,
Yeah.
but I love, incidentally, I love weights.
Ah,
I love squats, weighted squats that I do love, whether it's dumbbells, whether
yeah,
it's kettlebells. That for me is fun. Strangely enough, I
yeah,
like burpees. Um, I sort of feel like they're short-term punishment, but have a lot of benefit. So
yeah,
it's a mixed bag for me.
yeah,
But I keep saying one of these fine days I'll come back and say I can run.
yeah,
That's like right at the top of my bucket list.
yeah. But I feel you because I also don't like the gym a lot. I do it once in a while. I like weights, I like sports and all that, but that is once in a while, not every day. I can run every day, but then the sports and the weights, no, not every day. So I think for Rina, it's something that I think you've been doing for quite a while, and that's why you've got into the 16 kilometers, yeah? For how many
Yeah,
years?
yeah.
Yeah.
I, well, for a while. So it's something like on and off, on and off. Obviously,
Yeah.
when you have children, you can't quite do much, but on and off.
Yeah.
But consistently, I'd say for the last about 4 years. But
Mhm.
even before that, running was something I've enjoyed doing. I used to play squash. I've generally been I'll make
Yeah.
it quick. I'll make
Yeah.
it quick. Yeah, I generally enjoy exercise. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And I think when you're exercising, and that's why Jerry said she enjoys burpees.
Mm.
So something I don't quite enjoy myself.
Mhm.
But the reason she can say that is over time, your body builds strength for whatever
Yeah.
it is that you're training for. And it becomes easier over time.
Yeah. Yeah. Great, and I'm glad to hear that. And obviously, we'll exchange notes more often because now we're part of one group. So hopefully, we'll exchange notes. I can learn about how to, the audio thing. Like, I don't know how to do it. Like, I can listen to an audio book for like 5 minutes and then I just zone off. I don't know how to do that, but then I can watch a movie for like an hour. So I don't know how to to do that. So I mean, Gaki, I'll come for notes. Rina, I'll come for notes how to do it because I don't know how to
So
keep.
I think
Yeah,
everybody's so different. They learn
yeah,
differently.
yeah,
Like the people who have to do to learn, others listen and they get it,
yeah,
others have to read and write. So we're all such different
yeah,
learners, and we engage differently. So yeah, I think
yeah.
it's for you to find what works for you and
I
what you
know.
enjoy, and just do that.
Yeah, but the fact that I have a podcast, obviously, I have to start listening more often to other audiobooks and other people who are doing podcasting. So definitely I will reach out. So thanks for sharing that, ladies. And I mean the theme for today and the agenda for this conversation is about the journey, your journeys to leadership, and even about Angaza Awards. So let me first start with Angaza Awards and what it means to you as a leader, as a woman. I know this is the vision of Nuru Mugambi, and I was really proud, and I was taken like it really took me by surprise when I received the award. I never thought I would receive the award, and it has really opened up a lot for me as a woman, and obviously as a woman in this industry, for me, the healthcare industry. So I just want to hear from you guys what this award means to you, being a woman, and obviously you come from far. You started a journey, and you're here right now, and you've received this award. But it does, obviously, there's something that it does for you. So it either validates you, validates your journey, validates something in you. So maybe we can talk about that. How does this Angaza Award, make you feel? Is there something that it changed in you? Is there something that it validated in your career journey? Yeah, so we can start with Gaki. What are your thoughts on this?
So interesting question. What does Angaza mean to me?
Mm-hmm.
So I give my best in pretty much all the assignments that I get to undertake.
Mm-hmm.
And that cuts across work, personal life, and everything else. And it's really, to me, it's not always about the award. I take the award as as a stamp that this is something that somebody else is able to recognize that I have done.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So not necessarily to work for an award or to work for recognition, but I look at it as someone appreciating the effort that I have put in, because otherwise then I'd have to be chasing pretty much every other, recognition that comes along the way. And it's partly because I'm also very introverted. So anything that comes out there and I need to either get into this kind of conversation, I have to think and overthink. I overthink so many things. But yes, back to the question of what Angaza means to me is it's a recognition of the work that I have done and the efforts that I have put, rather, in throughout my career. Of course, looking at the feedback that we have to give in the entries, it took me way back to where I started, what I've been up to, the people that I have been able to impact positively. And then that also is a reason or a call to, I look at it again as a challenge to make sure that do what you're doing. One of my seniors at work would always say that you need to do what you're doing and you do it consistently, because in that case, then there is, you create a habit or a character. Your character gets shaped out of all that. Yeah. And the opportunity again to be recognized across Africa is not something I take lightly. It's not a mean feat. Yeah. I'm sure there were so many ladies who've achieved so much and who are also not shortlisted for the award. Yeah. So the fact that the work that I do is impactful, not just to my local community here or the Kenyan people, but it cuts across the entire of Africa, is something to be very proud of. We work to get to impact positively in the institutions that we work in, but also to get that reward and the recognition means so much to me.
That's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, when I was feeling that, when I was preparing my write-up, I thought through. So if somebody was to read this, or what was I even thinking when I started taking, when I put myself through some of the initiatives, whether it's mentorship and stuff, when you do such small things that may appear small to you, it's not always with the intent. You actually don't think through the impact that it has, but the fact that somebody will be able to go through all the stuff or all the work we have done as different ladies and pick out what so-and-so has done and feel this is something that needs to be recognized, then it's also a source of encouragement to keep doing what you do and do it right.
I'm really feeling the passion when you're talking about that. And maybe let me just ask a question before we go to Jerry or Rina. Where does this passion come from? You've said you're really passionate about everything that you do. Where does it come from? Is it something that was instilled in you while you were growing up by your parents, or it's just something that is innate, it's natural? Where do you feel it comes from?
I've had so much freedom. And the fact that I had a freedom to choose, the only choice I didn't have is where to be born. But I'm glad that I got, I was born in the family that I was, and had parents that I had and siblings. And I grew up in a setup where anyone and everyone is allowed to speak their mind, as long as you do it respectfully, in a dignified manner. And so what that then meant for me is I have no fear in expressing myself. The only thing I have to keep reminding myself is, as I do always, am I being respectful to the other person, whether it's a positive or negative feedback that I'm giving. And as long as I tick the boxes, then everything is okay. So I draw so much from the values my parents instilled in me and my siblings as well. Because like I said, I'm not the only giver of feedback. And we can be very good at giving feedback.
Exactly.
But a lot of humility and a lot of self-awareness to consistently seek feedback. If you're able to receive feedback and do something with it, something that's going to better you as an individual, then I feel you will have won it. Wow. So the courage, the strength to do all these things is because I have always been exposed to environments that allow me to, to speak my mind. And I've also been very lucky to have few mentors, if I call them that. I've also had some team leaders that have chosen or picked me as a mentee and been very supportive. And man, those are also some of the people whose feedback you don't really want to listen to all the time, because it comes raw. But the beauty of it, there's so much love in it. I mean, that's someone who cares. That's someone who cares about you. So yes, I've been a receiver, giver of feedback, and with that, I believe it also gives me the courage, to take whatever chances I do, because if I don't get it right, then I'll be open-minded. I don't have to worry so much about it.
Wow, you're saying such deep things, and I'm really glad that you're sharing that, because some women and some people think that this journey is normally very easy, but it's very tough, and there's nothing good that comes easy. So thank you so much for sharing that. Rina, we can go to you. Maybe you can tell us what Angaza Awards mean to you, means to your journey as a woman leader. What does it mean to you? Does it validate anything? What does it mean to you?
I think first of all, the Angaza Awards gives me an opportunity to interact with other women who I may not necessarily have access to on a day-to-day basis, just grow my networks. I think for me, the recognition obviously does validate. I think one of the things that I recognize is having been in the industry for over 18 years and having coming at a point in time when there were very, very few women in the industry. I know that there's many others looking up to the older ones like us. So that for me is the biggest thing. The fact that I didn't grow up being first in my class. I wasn't the best finance student. In fact, I remember talking to a mentor at the time when I was coming towards the end of my university degree. And he said to me, when I look at your performance and just your absorption capability and what you're passionate about, at that time, he said to me, I think you really should focus on marketing, because I did a double major in marketing and finance. And he said, you'll struggle if you go into finance. I think you should really just focus on marketing. You have the lingo, you have you understand it really well, you've performed really well, and that's where you will thrive. And for me to come from a place where I really struggled in my derivatives class, I struggled in my economics class. I mean, I really had to read extra to get it. But Rael, that's actually what has caused me to be able to occupy this space. The fact that I'm able to bring in a different element, the fact that I sit with my clients and I'm able to explain things in a manner that they can understand and not use jargon, because I know that nobody gets jargon. Okay, there's a few who do, which has worked to my advantage. And so I feel like Angaza Awards has helped me, first of all, articulate my story. Be visible, which is important to me in where I'm going. I think for me, this thing that I do is more than just a career, it's a call on my life. And so it enables me to then execute what God has asked me and called me to do. So it accelerates that process and puts me on a platform that would take me a lot longer to be able to get on. And gives me clout and access that I wouldn't otherwise have. Exactly. But also, finally, in relation to the story I just shared, is just shows others that imagine, even if you're struggling in an area, if you really work hard and if you're really determined and are passionate about something, you pull through. You pull through and you're great, and you can do amazing things, even if you are not the best in your class.
Wow, that's a really interesting story. And you've talked about something that I've caught on. You've talked about purpose. And let me tell you, I have interacted with so many women, and because we're talking about women, let me just refer to women, but I've talked to both women and men, but specifically about women. Most women actually do what they're doing right now in their capacities that they are in because they don't have any other option. So when you have conversations with people, they tell you, it's because I'm doing this for my kids. I don't really like this job, but I'm doing it for my kids. So when you've talked about purpose, that really caught me, because it's not something that I hear quite a lot, especially from women, because women have been taught to just, do something for the sake of, the responsibilities that they have. Let me go get that money because I have this responsibility, and let me take care of this responsibility because I'm receiving a stipend at the end of the month, and that will take care of the responsibility. This job is the worst, but it's giving me money, so let me stay here. So when you've talked about purpose, it's really caught me. And maybe let me just ask, what is your purpose? What is your purpose on earth? I know you help people financially and to make investment. Well, what is your purpose in your own words? What is your purpose?
Okay, before I share that, perhaps maybe let me make a comment about what you just said.
Yeah.
I think there's a place and a season when you do something because it's a means to an end. I think it's difficult to always be doing something that is aligned to your purpose and passion. I think there's times when, given the circumstances that you're in, that you just have to do something to make ends meet, and it's okay. It's just the season.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of purpose, it's highly linked to my identity. So there's my identity and then there's my assignment. In terms of who I am, I'm an exhorter. So I call people to do things and to live to the fullest of their ability, and to live in such a way that they are sort of being able to be aligned with what God has called them to do. So So for me, I'm an exhorter. If you interact with me, I'm always pushing all those who are around me to just explore whatever it is they're doing to that next level. And I just find that comes naturally for me. So now, in terms of my assignment, in this season of my life, that just happens to be financial services and investing and saving and putting money away for retirement. So that is how it is sort of expressing itself at the moment. So in different seasons of my life, it's been different things. Which I'll not get into, but for now in this season, it is financial services. And for now, I really, really feel that a great need that we have is people just opening their eyes and seeing the reality of the situation that they're in. I think we kind of tend to live in a bubble, thinking that somehow, somewhere, somebody, or somehow, somewhere, things will work out and I'll be fine. But we have to live intentionally, particularly where our finances are concerned. And so for now, I have a clarion call for everybody to just sort of think through, saving and investing and thinking through those things from your own personal circumstances and the goals that you have, and not what everybody's doing. So I'm not going to just buy insurance because everybody says that I need to, but I need to check what insurance policy aligns with the needs I have, and what investments would align with the needs and goals that I have, and how do you then assess those things? So that's for me right now, the way that my, I guess, purpose is playing out.
Wow. Well, and thanks for sharing that. I can see the passion when you talk about finances. Yeah. So Jerry, maybe you can share with us. I know you're having a little bit of challenge with your internet, so I hope we'll get through this. But what does Angaza Awards mean to you? What does, like, when you had your name, when Nuru sent you that email? Because I remember I was sitting somewhere and then I saw the email and I was like, is this for real? So what did you feel when you got that email, and what does this award mean to you as a woman in your leadership capacity, in whatever capacity it might be, either as at Britam or in any other capacity? What does it mean to you?
So I can resonate a lot with what the other two ladies had to say. But for me, when I saw the email, I must admit, I saw finalists. So I said, oh, great. So let's see where this goes, because finalists really could be, amongst many other people. And then when she wrote and said that they're going to be announcing, I was taken aback. Sorry, as you can hear, my dogs are
it's okay,
having a field day. So I doubt you can catch much of it, but that got me, because it's been a journey. It's been a journey. Definitely a lot of effort. And a lot of ladies who probably will get any recognition, and some none at all, will tell you there has been a lot of effort to getting to where we are. And often we park what we've done, or park what efforts we've put in, and perhaps minimize them, I dare say, and reading the narrative and seeing that it was Africa. I said, wait, Africa, the last I checked, Africa is a continent. So that was, that took me aback, I must admit. And I said, okay, fine. Even though I could have said, yeah, I could be good at something, but Africa is quite big. So without a doubt, very humbling, very exciting. It's the one thing that it put in front of me is to say, how many other people in their different disciplines are doing a fantastic job, but never get the opportunity for recognition.
Yeah.
So in that sort of saying, so how often don't I see the smaller areas that things are going great and celebrate people in there
Exactly.
on smaller ways? It doesn't have to be Africa, it can be smaller.
Yes.
So that was what it was like for me. It's been a journey since. More pressure, I think, for me, thinking, am I doing, you know, when it's ladies, women to watch, you know, that word, watch. What does watch mean? What are you?
Yeah. What are you doing next? What's next? Yeah. Yeah. I get
so previously, it was just me in my own small corner in Kenya, in Nairobi somewhere, you know, just doing my thing. But now there's that aspect to sort of say, in what I'm doing, what kind of example am I modeling? In what I'm doing, is it an example worth emulating? And really saying, as I keep saying, we often get a title, but we earn it. We earn it by what we do. We earn it by how, you know, we live out the experience. And for me, it's that aspect of saying, okay, this recognition sort of says, it's Africa. So what am I going to do about it? How do I build on the things that I think have been going well to do better? And how do I also begin to be deliberate around making sure that I am also bringing to light the areas of recognition that women can be seen as strong for. And in the last, probably around about 6 months, or probably the last, just about the time, just after Angaza, I've been more deliberate to grow my female leadership within the team. Probably grown my managers from about maybe 20% female. We are now about 60% female. And I must admit, for me, it has not been about picking women as flower girls, because I'm very concerned about that narrative. It's about women being in the places they sit on because they actually deserve to sit there. They have earned their seat at the table. And often that narrative is lost because and I keep telling people, a woman doesn't have too many choices. I guess you need to be ugly to be successful for people to say, oh, great, she earned it. But there's always going to be someone trying to discount something about what you've done that's great. So it's probably that aspect. Even when we were going through International Women's Day this year, looking at what are these biases I carry, what are these biases that I carry towards women myself, what are those biases that I'm perpetuating knowingly or unknowingly, and saying, how do I continuously grow this group? So I must admit, an exciting time for me, because first I even have the platform to grow this women. It's to have that opportunity is quite something. But to tell you how much they're doing is amazing. Just looking at, we are just ending Q1, and I must admit, we are off to a fantastic year. A lot of things looking up. And I must admit, it has something to do with the women in the way they are doing their work. They are all in. And they're trying to really make a difference. So Angaza for me was that awakening of, okay, looks like I'm on the right path. And sort of saying, what does this really mean for me? And what must I deliberately do around making sure that this wasn't just an award, but I must appreciate the Angaza fraternity, because for them it wasn't just, oh great, mentioned, built my profile. It was that aspect where they were throwing a challenge to us and saying, okay, what are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with having women, growing the women aspects? And those are challenges I'm taking on very deliberately, to say, this is not about publicity. This is not about being recognized or celebrated. This is about using the platform I now have to say, how do I drive this agenda even that more further, to demonstrate that women have leadership roles and are in leadership roles because they have earned them and they deserve them.
Wow, so profound. And maybe just on that, because you're talking about biases and challenges, as Jerry, what challenges have you faced to get to where you are right now as a leader? I'm sure you started being a leader a while ago, maybe when you were younger, someone saw something in you and you've grown up and you're in this professional setting. And obviously people are seeing the things that you can do, your contribution and all that. And that's why you're sitting at the helm of that organization. But then obviously the leadership part did not start now. It started way earlier in life, I'm assuming, yeah? So what are the challenges that you faced as you grew up, as you got into this level of leadership in your organization, and even being the woman that you are today? What are some of the challenges that you have faced, and how have you navigated through it?
The challenges, when I think about it, are quite a number. But I'd say being a female leader is not a walk in the park, and I salute every woman on this forum and every woman out there, because we make it look easy, I must admit, but it is not easy. There's a lot of, and perhaps I'll pick an example of perhaps as I've worked in different organizations, it is not a said rule, but it's often assumed that women should be taking the lower position. As I was going into management, perhaps one of the management roles I was going into at that point, there were no women at that level. There were probably women who are younger. And I'd walk into meetings that were fully a boys' club, and the conversations they would have, it would be halfway in the middle, they'd realize, oops, we really went off tangent. And when men go off tangent, it's really off tangent. And then they'd realize, oops, there's a woman in the room, and then they'd quickly try to correct themselves. And then I began to notice certain aspects that men were quite competitive. And because it was presumed that that for them it's clear, you're standing in their path, they're going to trample on you, step on you, whatever is required, but they're getting to X. And for me, I began to observe those aspects and say, fine, this is the environment, how do I succeed even in this space? And the last thing for me was the fact that because women are nurturing, concerned, and all of these aspects that are personable, sometimes I did notice that when competition got the better of things, those aspects were somewhat used to drive behavior. And I'd observe it around me and with me, where perhaps if a situation, I mean, you'd notice, for example, the decisions, for some reason, major decisions are not made in the meeting room or in the boardroom. Meetings were being held somewhere else, probably over a drink, probably over some nyama choma somewhere, and the next day in the meeting, everyone would raise their hand and say, agreed. And I would keep trying to understand, okay, so when did this happen? Because I have a view and it's already a yes. But already then I had to make decisions very early in my career and decide what kind of leader did I want to be. First, I think for me, the one major decision I made is nobody was ever going to make me write out a resignation letter until I wanted to. So it didn't matter how much you jumped, danced, how much you jeered at me, it didn't matter what stance you put. It was my call, and I had a decision I'm fully in control of the actions I make or I choose to take, regardless of what you do. And I think that perhaps for me has been the most profound, because I have watched that as people get more competitive, the deliberate actions to get you off your course are not straight up said in your face. Will probably be done in the background to cause you to take an action. So I don't take an action unless it's something I want to do. It doesn't matter what you do, but if it is not something I'm trying to do, I'm not going to do it. The other thing I made a decision to do is say, what is my leadership philosophy as Njeri? What do I believe in? What is my value system? And that clarity on who I am. And in that, I have had people tell me, Banjeri, you're being too tough. Aren't you supposed to be feminine? Banjeri, and you're being too tough. Aren't you supposed to be, I don't know, all those very nice, I don't know, they call
colorful
female attributes. I think they're human attributes. I'm not sure they're women attributes. We are all supposed to be kind, caring. They're human attributes. So making sure that every decision I make and every conversation I make is built around objectivity. And that my value system is built on integrity. And for me, those aspects, for me, I look for objectivity. I address the issues. I don't deal with the personality. And last but not least, the last decision I made was at the end of the day to make sure that in my journey, I was going to be authentic, that recognizing that I'm not going to be perfect, recognizing that, there's an ideal of what I could be a better leader, could be a better this and that, could be a better mom, I could be a better wife, could be all those things, but recognizing where am I at, recognizing that I have gotten there through definitely some effort, but being cognizant of the fact that there's more to be done and continuously building towards that, but appreciating that I am already who I am today, and that's good enough. and I don't need to try and fake and pretend and be what somebody else wants me to be, either to fit in or be something else. So those, I must agree, have been very useful in addressing the challenges. And the challenges are many, but those are some of the challenges I have faced and how I have dealt with them.
Wow, I resonate with so many things that you've said there. So thank you so much for sharing. And Gaki, I'll ask you the same question about the challenges that you faced as you navigated through, your different leadership positions, your different capacities as a woman. What are these challenges that you faced, and how did you navigate through them?
I found myself as the only woman in a room, not once, not twice. So, and having to deal with that alone can be quite confusing, but, and not just at the workplace. I found myself in several situations where, whether it's a group of people that have come together to champion a specific cause, you find the number of ladies or women is not really, it doesn't beyond the 10% range. There's that element of being a minority in so many situations, and minority can be, you can interpret it whichever way you understand, especially in the setup that we all are in. So I've been a minority in many situations. I've also been a minority in my thought process, and that cannot be funny in some situations, because as Njeri said, sometimes you don't know how the decisions are arrived at.
Yeah.
So you get into a room and people have to raise their hands, and everybody seems to agree with the subject or the proposal, but you have a very, very different opinion. So I am quite opinionated, as I earlier mentioned, because of that upbringing of being allowed to be yourself and speak yourself. Please remember, as long as you do it in a dignified manner and respectful. So I found myself in several situations where I'm a minority in very different ways, and I've also used that as an opportunity to still choose to be heard. And there's one thing that I still believe in and I'll always stick to, and this is what she's also said, which is really about being authentic. I believe that authenticity is a virtue, and it's something that you have to stick with through your professional, personal life. And I find being authentic as a reason for me to, to go back home every day and have a very restful night, because I'm not like myself. I am not forced to agree to something that I'm not, I'm not willing to. And it's purely about being strong enough and being courageous enough to speak your mind, to be heard, whether the recipient of your thought process or anything else internalizes the feedback. That's a different ball game altogether. But at least the fact that I speak my mind, and allow myself to be heard in some not very interesting situations, that then I don't have to sit down and say a decision was made and I was never consulted. Because remember, again, being leaders, and as whether you're female or male, the biggest burden or the biggest role we play is owning up and taking responsibility. So if, say, those of us in the financial services industry, is whatever decision is made, whether you choose to say that you are not consulted or you are consulted, is a different, that's your choice of how you want to present it. And the only way then you need to make sure that everybody knows what your stand is getting that courage to speak and share your thoughts. And the beauty of this is over time, time validates most of the things or vindicates most of the things that that we consistently live to, rather live up to. And why do I say this? That you get to form overnight. There has to be a lot of consistency in, the word that you keeping your word, or being responsible, or whether it's performance. You need to be very consistent in everything that's every role that has been assigned to you. And even when it comes to engaging with colleagues or having a team and being a team leader, you can't be red today and blue tomorrow. You can't be white today and black tomorrow. Otherwise, you won't have a team to work with. And it's still the same thing. Even to our seniors, they expect a consistent person who at least they know, if I need to promote this person from this role to the next one, it's purely based on merit. It's also purely based on the consistency, and somebody else can also vouch for, for this specific person. I mean, it's not just me who's championing for a colleague or a person in my team to get, say, a promotion. And that's one of the things I keep telling the colleagues I work with, specifically in my team. Choose, these are your KPIs. This is how you choose to leave your quarter or leave your year. But please note, I wouldn't want somebody else appraising you, say, at the end of the quarter, who's not me, to score you lower or higher, because then that means there's something I do not have visibility of. So that's more about encouraging the consistency. What other challenges have I found? I think my biggest concern is, when you voice your concerns or you voice your thoughts every so often, you're bound to either rub people the wrong way, or you're bound to rub people the wrong way. But the other beauty of the work I do also is that I've been able and privileged enough to interact with people from very diverse backgrounds, culturally, socially, and every other way. And this is not just at the workplace, but growing up, I had the opportunity to interact with people of very diverse backgrounds. And that then means, and always taught me, there's something I've got to learn from the other person. And if I'm open enough and willing enough to share, or to present myself first, then it will also make it easier for them to, to be open and willing to engage and bring me into their own culture or their way of life, or also help me understand their, their thought process. I have had to deal with cultural differences as well. And cultural differences, I always, if I find myself in a situation where I'm not there, I don't belong to the majority, but rather the minority, then I'm very intentional about being, sitting back and waiting to understand where the other person or the other, what makes people behave the way they do, or what's making everybody else the way they do. It's probably their culture, and I can't, our culture is a way of life, really. So I cannot changing a whole big group's culture. It's more about me to make sure that I learn, appreciate, and assimilate myself without, of course, losing out on the values that I stand for.
Wow. Thanks for sharing.
For me, I think that can be compromised, and that is something that will follow you. So integrity is, my definition of integrity is what I do when nobody's, when nobody's there, nobody is watching. And I try to live my life with, with the knowledge that anything I say or everything that I do, do it as if the whole world is watching. And if the answer is yes, I'm willing to live with, the consequences of what the world will see, then I should be comfortable doing what I'm doing. But if I won't be, then I need to think through that and think twice, and probably realize it's not something worth doing in the first.
Wow. So what I'm hearing from you is about being consistent, having integrity and authenticity, and that's the same thing that Jerry shared. So thank you so much for sharing that. And maybe as we come to a close, for Rina, what are the challenges that you faced as a woman going through your leadership journey as you were growing up, as people called out the leader in you, if they were seeing the leader in you? What are the challenges that you faced and how did you get through them? And what, maybe at the end you can share with us, what advice would you give to young women who are, they feel like they have this leadership responsibility in them, and they don't know how to navigate through certain situations? They're going through different challenges. How would you advise those young women who are just starting their journey in leadership?
Thank you. So first of all, I allow me to just say congratulations to Aki and Jerry. Let me tell you, the world out there is rough. The fact that you've been able to get to the positions that you are in, and I mean this with all sincerity, influencing your organizations, making decisions, leading teams, I think it's just amazing, absolutely amazing. It's not a small thing. I think for me, the biggest challenge that I faced, especially earlier, I think the first big appointment I had was when I was 27, and we were appointed, 6 of us were asked to lead the Ministry of Youth Affairs to come up with structures and mechanisms to be able to distribute 1 billion shillings to Kenyan youth. And I mean, we were sort of divided half, 3 women. I think there were 3 men. Yeah, we were 6 of us. They tried to make it regionally balanced and so on and so forth. But I can tell you, even with that sort of balance, it was very, very tough to sit in rooms as, the head of the administration and HR committee, as the chair, and have men come and report what they've done or have not done once we set up the organization. The first lesson I learned is do not bulldoze, especially as a woman. You will be punished for it. I can tell you that I tend to also speak my mind, but I have been punished severely for it. In fact, I have sat in front of the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, that's what it was called those days, was speaking my mind, and I was falsely accused of stealing money. It was not fun.
Wow. Yeah.
It significantly affected me.
Yeah.
So over time, that experience, it was 3 years leading this organization. We then formed the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. It didn't exist. We ended up applying for a parastatal and making sure it was set up. And after it was set up, then left. I actually resigned. But the point is, that experience at a young age helped me understand that even if and even if you're right, Rina, and this is for me as an individual, I have to find a way of getting things done, and I don't have to get the recognition for it. And so all through my career, I have gotten things done, even if I am not the one who people think got it done. Do you understand? So like in my organization, or if I'm looking at a client, I'm trying to get things approved, I find who is the gatekeeper here? Who is the person who I need to get sort of approval from, and then plant the idea in them and have them then sort of suggest it, because then I found that I get things done better that way. Second, I have been in meetings, right, and completely been ignored, like completely.
Yeah.
So and I'm constantly meeting where there's, because I mean, you can imagine I'm speaking with organizations, I head corporate finance, we're structuring deals. Most likely than not, the person on the other side of the table, client, is an elderly man, all right? So in my situation, what do? I carry another man with me. It is the reality of life. It is the way we are in a certain cultural context. And you know what? At the end of the day, I just need the business, right? So if it takes another the introductions and I do the rest, imagine it's okay. I stop letting that get to me. It's just the way it is. If I need the business, then carry another man along with me who's an older man who will be respected. And then I do the bulk of the talking after they've felt at peace, and there's a man who knows what they're. Just last week, I was in a meeting where we had, a group of 3 older Asian men, and my goodness, I didn't exist in that room.
Oh no!
Completely did not. I am telling you. But you know what? Because I've now matured, I guess with age, I've realized. Imagine it's okay. Okay. And then I listened, and I said, okay, let me just also say something. by the end of that meeting, the gentleman who runs the group of companies that we were talking to actually shook my hand twice, said, "Oh my goodness, gosh, you're so smart. You are so smart." And I'm just like, really, what were you thinking about me? And I left that wondering, I need to wear trousers and have my hair a certain way for me to be seen as a smart, intelligent individual. But it is one of the biggest challenges I have faced. I am invisible when it comes to men. So I basically, you asked about what are my suggestions. I think one of the things is never walk into a room and leave having said nothing. Where there's a conversation between people around a certain issue, even if you don't have anything intelligent to say, find something intelligent to say. Secondly, prepare 1,000 times more than anybody else, so that then you add significant value to the meeting and you will be remembered for it. You can't walk in, just have prepared normal. You need to have researched, find out who's your client, what does your client want, where are they coming from? What does a win look like for them? So that as I'm going to the table, I completely am presenting something that they would like, because I've understood them and I've understood their business. Because short of that, I mean, I can't sit down and sort of say, the men don't prepare anyway, it's fine, I'll be okay. No, I have accepted that because I look like I'm 25, and they always say I look younger than I am, and it's true. I look young. I look like I don't know what I have to say. I'm generous and calm, feisty as some other women are gifted to be.
Wow.
I have to find a tool that works for me. And what is that tool? It's over preparation. I over prepare. And so one of the things is I'm always underestimated. That's another challenge. I'm always underestimated, but I've learned to use it as a strength. Because now I say, because I know I'll be underestimated, I must dazzle. Exactly. And if I dazzle, then I am not forgotten and I will get that business. Wow. So that's been my strategy. Yeah.
Wow. So that's your encouragement to young ladies. So over preparing, and I've heard someone else say that, over preparing and say something, even though it's not intelligent, in a room, as long as you're in that room, because you deserve to be in that room, and that's why you're in that room. So you need to say something. Wow. So Jerry and Gaki, maybe you can also share some advice that you can give to young women as they come up in their careers as leaders, and even the ones who are not yet leaders or do not feel like leaders. What advice would you give to them? Like maybe just one sentence or two. What advice would you give to them as we end this? We can start with Jerry, then Gaki, you can close us off.
Okay, I could go first before Gaki. I'm not as gifted as Rena in that I come in less assertively. I'm probably the type to be here. At times you also want to be Rena. I might tell you, Rena, at times I want to be the soft-spoken, gentle one. Just then come through very often. I think there's a benefit to to being both. I'd tell any young lady who wants to go into leadership, or no one is coming to show up for you and no one is coming to clean out the path for you. Get ready and be very clear on what you want and unapologetically go for it, because nobody else can define your desires, your passion, and the things you want as well as you can. The other thing I believe is go back to the source. And I'm a believer in the word of God, and it says, I'm the head and not the tail. It says, I have the mind of Christ. There are certain things it says about me that are very clear. And that even before I was conceived in my mother's womb, he knew me. The fact that I am here at this point in time is not a mistake. It is where I was supposed to be. Everything I have been born with is something I must leverage on. It's a gift for it to propel me to my next level. So keep plugging back to the source so that you keep remembering your truth about who you are, about what you're made for, about what you're here for. That's the second thing for me. And the third thing for me is your value system. You're going to need to be very clear on who you are, because people will call you all kinds of things. And I like to make a joke that often as you're driving on the road, if your windows are down or your windows could be up and someone on the road is busy shouting profanities at you, if they say you're a dog and you lower down your window to respond, I think they called a dog and the dog answered. So usually I keep saying,
Wow.
if you people will say things. So you see, if in fact I keep making fun when I'm driving in traffic, my windows are up and I'm having a good day. And it doesn't matter. You want to be dramatic and throwing your arms at me, I'm just looking at you, and it's the most comical sight.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if I feel the need to come at you, then there's something inside of me you have just spoken to and I'm answering to.
Yeah.
And that is me allowing myself to be drawn out into drama and into things that are not me. So who are you? What do you stand for? What do you believe you deserve? And go for it unapologetically. Will there be challenges? Yes. Will it be difficult? Yes. But at all times, the one aspect I like to say, remove the subjectivity, remove the drama, remove the, oh, he didn't like me because I wasn't, remove that. Just deal with the issue.
Yeah.
Deal with what's black and white that you can see. Don't over dramatize, because at times we had a layer of, did you see how she was talking to me kind of drama. Just deal with the issue. And at the end of the day, on that, build on it, build on it. And the last but not least, there's many things I could say. Have a strong support system around you. You're always going to need people you can check in with, who you can consult with, who can speak to you, give you advice here, because no matter how far you go, it will always be a learning experience and journey, and you will need others who are like-minded, who are like you, who have the same drive as you trying to get somewhere. That's it.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. I'm here saying just preach, sister. So thank you for that. That is really, 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 really encouraging. Thank you so much. Gaki, to close us off, maybe you can tell us what advice you can give to young women coming up in their leadership journeys. What advice would you give them as we come to a close? And sorry, guys, I've taken a bit of your time, but Gaki, you can close us off. What will be your parting shot for young women, young leaders?
Oh, well, interesting conversations. It's unfortunate this is coming to an end. So first things, be yourself. As long as you are yourself, you should be able to live with the consequences of your decisions. Decisions, choices, everything you do, as long as you do it from your heart, you don't need to be influenced to take a decision or make a choice that you are not comfortable with. Being yourself is very liberating. It allows you to, as earlier mentioned, go back home, sleep, and wake up feeling very comfortable. So I really encourage everyone, young or old, male, female. It's important that we are ourselves in the things that we do and the way we live our lives, because then life becomes easier in so many ways. Then the second bit is also about not taking life too seriously and taking ourselves too seriously, especially at the workplace or even in our personal lives. We all have a life to live, and having a life to live means, I keep telling myself that, on that day, Judgment Day, I won't be answerable about how another person lived their life, whether it's a partner or a friend or a parent or a child. It's purely about, I have this life to live as Gaki. So it's only important that I live it fully, and not taking myself too seriously, or also taking so many other things that, I get to find along the way too seriously. And that will also rid you of a lot of mental torture and trauma, especially when we make mistakes. We are all bound to make mistakes and make wrong choices and wrong decisions at some point. It's in the bouncing back. It's the bouncing back journey that really counts for me, and that's what really matters. We all have made a decision that we're not comfortable to live with at some point, unless you're very unique. I'm here to meet one like those. But the fact that I choose to focus on the positive side of life, the things that are working, not purely what doesn't work or what hurts, then it allows me to be in a better space mentally. I can't give something that I do not have. You won't be able to work in a friendly environment if you're not at peace with yourself. You won't be able to work or be in a friendly relationship or, you know, have friends around you when you're not at peace with yourself. So I believe if I don't take things in life too seriously, and especially in situations where you have done something that's that didn't go the way you anticipated, then yes, it's not going to work for you. And then finally, it's important that we take care of ourselves in every sense of it. I always like to play things back, you know, even if it's a decision that you're making or an assessment, you know, even if you're with a child, for instance, and they want you to guide them on what to do, it's important to also understand from, you know, what their thought process is like, because reading myself of too much self-absorption allows me to see and hear and allow other people to share their thoughts easily. And that's very important to me, because in the professional world or even in the personal world, it's important that we get to make it very natural for people to, you know, to open up and converse with us and do all those things. But we also need to create an environment that is very allowing of the same.
Wow, such deep words. Yeah, and I'll always remember never to take myself seriously. I think I'm told that so many times. So thank you for saying that. And so this brings us to a close, ladies. Thank you so much for just being a part of this. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for taking your time. I know you're very busy, but thanks for just making time to have this conversation. These conversations are very important. And as someone said, sometimes people think this is easy and we wear it very easily, but then the work behind it is something else. And obviously it's worth it. And that's why we are sitting here today talking about this. So thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.